Okay, welcome everybody. So if you haven't yet, please grab a strap or a dowel, or just something that you can kind of pull on. We'll be using that in a little bit, and I'll invite you to get started in a seat. Any way that's comfortable for you, though, is totally fine. If you want to start laying down or in some other shape, that's fine. I'm just going to have a seat on my little cushion here. Start kind of classic in our meditative seat. And generally for a seat, we want the hips and the knees to be level, or the hips a little above the knees. And that allows the lower back to be in a little bit more of a functional position. So feel free to sit up nice and high so that your knees can drop, and you can put props under your knees too if they're quite elevated. And I'm in a shape here called Siddhasana, which has the heels kind of stacked in front of each other. Sukhasana is more the legs crossed. Either is fine. Okay, just whatever works for you. You can have your hands just resting on your lap. Palms down is a little more grounding. Palms up is nice if you're wanting to just invite some energy. And you might just play around a little bit and see what feels right for you. You can close your eyes. And start to tap into your breath. And that might look like a few really conscious sighs. Or it might just look like kind of noticing what your breath is wanting to do naturally. And don't be afraid to move. You don't have to be sort of stock still in this place to fidget and adjust. And we're kind of looking for a seat that feels easeful. So a place where you feel like you can breathe and you're not sort of struggling to hold yourself up. And if today's one of those days where it feels like a lot of effort to sit, just lie down. You don't have to sit. And then let's just take a moment here, invite some quiet and just let the dust settle. And as you take some time just to slow down, take a moment to acknowledge the earth, the land that you're on. Your relationship with this physical place in the world. That relationship that shifts and changes all the time. Acknowledging yourself as part of the always changing web of everything. And then tuning into your body to the degree that that feels safe and comfortable for you to do. Just taking a moment to notice what it feels like in your body today, and if there's anything that your body is asking for or needing from your practice today or in general. Just giving it a little bit of space. So we'll start to invite some gentle movement from here. And if you're feeling like you need to adjust your seat or open your eyes, you can, but you can also just kind of remain still and keep your eyes closed just for now. until you feel like you need them. So I'll invite you just to allow your chin to fall forward. And then just lazily roll your head over to one side. And then back to center and over to the other side. So just taking some nice, slow, lazy neck rolls. Just moving at exactly the pace that suits your neck today. I find when my neck is tighter, I need to go a little slower. Just kind of acknowledging those sticky places and giving them a chance. And you might experiment with allowing your upper body to move with your head a little bit. So your head is still rolling from side to side, so it's kind of like this heavy weight that's rolling. But you can just kind of let your upper back and your shoulders move with your head a little bit. So that's just going to change the sort of experience of the stretch a bit. And if it feels good, that's great. If it doesn't work for you, just go back to what you were doing before. Yeah. And then next time you roll your head over to the right, you can bring your right fingertips down and allow your left arm to come up over your head. So you're taking a little bit more of a side stretch here. You can let your head hang, or you could hold it with your left hand. Just enjoying this little bit of a side stretch. You can let that left hand come through center, so you're kind of rounding forward like you were doing, and come to the other side. So the left hand comes beside you, the right arm comes up over your ear. Hi, Finnegan. Hey, buddy. Yeah. Maybe holding your head, maybe just letting your head hang. And then gently coming back through center. And if that felt good, you can do it a couple more times, maybe with a little bit more of movement to it. So you can open your eyes if you want to. Just thinking, inhaling to open up along one side. Exhale, coming through center. Inhale, sweeping the opposite arm up over your head. And through center. So just taking a few of those, if that feels good, but if you want to keep going slow, that's great too. Just kind of waking up some of the muscles along the shoulders, the neck, the spine. A little bit of a breathing exercise here as well, kind of opening the lungs as you roll from side to side. And then we'll just slow that down just when you feel ready. I'm just going to go to the left one more time. And then gently coming back through center, you can place your hands on your knees. And we'll take some seated cat and cows. And if your block annoys you, which sometimes mine does, you can just move it out of the way. So we're just inhaling to lean forward and exhaling to round back. And you can roll right onto your tailbone, which is where my block kind of gets in my way there. Inhaling to roll forward and exhaling to roll back, just running along the spine. You could do this with your feet wide too if your hips or knees are getting sick of this seated position. And maybe you want to try a circle as well and just see what it feels like to be kind of rolling in a circle around your hips. I find this is really nice if you've been a little stiff, a little sticky, which the weather can certainly affect us in that way. It's really nice to kind of get everything going in a really gentle way. Just reversing directions. You can do that a few times if you want. You don't have to count. And yeah, if you have other movements that are coming up around this, like your arms want to do something or your head wants to do something, go for it. Trust that intuition. Let's take a couple more breaths. Nice. And then when you're ready, we can come through center and just release the legs for a moment. You can give them a little shake or windshield wiper if you want. Sometimes it's nice to kind of bend and release the knees, just giving them a little sort of pad out. So I'd like to stay seated a little bit longer. So you can change the way you're sitting. You might want to pop back up onto your prop. And I'm just gonna, I know that I tend to put my right leg in front, so I'm gonna try my left, just so it's a little bit more symmetrical. And then I'm gonna grab my dowel. You could use a strap too, or a scarf, or just anything that you can kind of pull on a little bit. We're gonna do a little shoulder core. My shoulder has been a little bit annoying me lately, and I find this is a really, really good medicine for when my shoulder gets a little bit squeaky. Okay, so many of you guys know this one. You're going to take your prop up around the level of your forehead with the palms facing towards you, and the arms are about shoulders distance apart. You want to pull the prop apart, but then hug your elbows underneath your wrists. Pull the shoulders down the back, and as you inhale, you're just going to lift the prop up, keeping all of that. And as you exhale, lower it down. Good, and then inhale, lifting up. Oh gosh, I can tell I haven't done this in a while. These muscles are like, oh, really? I don't want to. Yeah, they're a little weak. So keep pulling that prop apart and hugging those elbows in. Try to keep your shoulders down your back. This one, whenever I come back to this one, it always gives me a little bit of magic in my shoulders. I find it really, really helps, but I have to suffer through doing it, which is always remarkably hard to me. Maybe that's just me. Let's try for 3 more if you can. Or 2. 1 more. Whew. Nice. And then you can relax your prop. Take your hands to your lap and just notice what your shoulders do. I often find that they sort of drift back, like they just are a little bit happier to be in alignment after I do that. And you're welcome to roll your shoulders if you like. And then take your prop around behind you and hold on to it so that your palms are facing forward. Maybe shoulders distance apart. They could be closer. You could experiment with that as we go. You could also do this just with your fingers interlaced. Okay, bend the elbows a little bit, hug them together and allow that chest to open. Press the prop down and away from you. And that might be plenty. You could also explore just pulling the prop to the right a little bit, pulling the prop to the left a little bit. So just having like a very slight twist side to side, just to open up the shoulders a little bit more, chest specifically. Really nice. And then gently release that. And again, you can just have your hands on your lap and take a moment to notice how that feels. Awesome. Let's do 1 more with the prop. So you're going to take it up over your head this time. And so this is a relatively short dowel. And if my shoulders were a bit tighter, I might want to strap so that I can go nice and wide. So that's just to say you can go as wide as you want. Okay. as wide as is comfortable. So this is going to be about outer shoulders distance for me. Drawing the shoulders gently down the back, just a nice long neck. We're just going to side stretch any amount. So just gently stretching over to one side, just till you get that little bit of a stretch kind of into your armpit. And then up through center and over to the other side. And we'll do this a couple of times. So use your intuition for how long you want to stay. You might just be doing one breath. You might be holding a little bit longer. We've got time, there's no rush. And you don't have to particularly, grip the prop super hard or anything like that. It's just a nice stretch up here. I'm into my side bends lately. I love side bends. Let's do about one more each side. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, just gently come through center and softly release the prop. You can set it to the side. We're done for now. Hands onto the lap. You might just notice how that feels. And if you want, you could roll the shoulders or just be still if that feels right for you as well. Nice. Okay, let's release the legs if you haven't. And just again, give them a little shake, a little wobble. And then let's come to our hands and our knees. Let's just move out of this plane. You can be on your palms or your fists, or elbows for that matter. Knees about hips distance apart, toes tucked or not. Let's just take some cat and cows. So we've already been doing some work, mostly in the upper half of the body, but just kind of noticing how that's landing, how you're feeling. Inhaling to take an arch in the spine, a back bend. Exhaling to round the spine, that's also an arch. And feel free to add your circles, side to side motion, whatever feels good for you here. And the legs probably want some attention at this point. So you're welcome to stay on your hands and your knees and just work on extending one leg at a time, pressing out through the back of the heel. If you're comfortable in downward dog, you could do downward dog, walking your hands a little bit farther forward, tucking the toes and pedaling the heels out. So bending one knee at a time and just getting the backs of the legs a little bit of space. Think of hugging the elbows slightly towards each other, shoulders nice and deep into their sockets. And one that I quite like lately is lifting both of the heels up and dropping them over to one side. This is my right. And then just pressing the hips back into the right. Up through center and over to the other side. And then back through center. Let's release the knees and let's try bringing the elbows down and take some cat and cows on the elbows. So this is just going to feel a little bit different. Just continuing to kind of get everything moving here. Maybe trying the circles here, they're going to feel a little bit different on the elbows. Feel like my vertebrae almost need to like get back in alignment. I feel like they're all scrambled up back there. It's nice to get some movement going through them so that they can kind of find their way home. Beautiful. Okay, when you're ready, we'll come back up to our hands and our knees. Take your right hand just a little bit farther forward and spin your left foot behind you so that you can extend, sorry, that's your right foot that's going behind you, so that you can extend your left leg out and come towards a gate pose. Okay, so your right toes could be tucked or not, just whatever's more comfortable for you is fine. And we'll start with the side stretch. So taking the bicep alongside the ear, just taking a nice little side stretch and gait here. A little bit of a tuck in the tailbone. Feel free to pad your knee too if it's a little sharp there. Okay, and here's a fun little core exercise. Okay, we're gonna inhale. As you exhale, bring your knee and your elbow towards each other. So you're kind of crunching your side body. Inhale, extend. You can sort of just not quite touch the earth with the leg. Exhale and squeeze together, elbow and knee. Inhale, extend. Exhale, little crunch. Inhale and crunch the side. Let's try 2 more. Last one. Nice. And then from here, you can return to gate pose or float the leg. Bend the knee, reach behind you and see if you can add a little bit of a back bend quadricep shape here. Letting that shoulder roll back, that's it. Beautiful, and then gently release. Come to hands and knees, and then you might want to take a little cat and cow there. You could do that on your elbows, or you could sit back on your heels and do it in your seat, especially if your wrists just need a little break. Inhaling and rounding. Nice. Okay, let's do that little sequence on the second side. So come back to your hands and your knees. Step your left hand a little bit farther forward. You could do this on fists or fingertips or up on a block. That might help with the wrist as well. Right leg extends back and just spin the left leg behind you, toes tucked or not. So you have a little bit of support there. And then take the side stretch. Yeah, so bicep over the ear, pressing up out of the bottom shoulder. And you can do this up on fingertips. It just takes some of the pressure off and you're working a little bit more with the lower body, but it's the exact same thing. So if you need to come up on fingertips, feel free to do that. And then let's try this little crunch. So we inhale and then exhale, the knee and the elbow come together. Inhale to extend, just not quite touching the floor, and then crunching in. Nice deep breaths there. A little bit of psoas, a little bit of oblique. Awesome, let's try for 2 more if you can. So good. And then you can return to that gate pose as you're ready, or maybe float the leg. See if you can hold on to the foot and come into a little bit of a back bend, kicking the foot into the hand, allowing your right shoulder to roll back. Awesome, gently release. Come back to your hands and your knees. And let's sit back on the heels and just take a couple of seated cat and cows. So inhaling, opening the chest, exhale, curl. And then let's give the wrists a little bit of love before we move on. So you can spread the fingers nice and wide. Feel free to stand on your knees if your knees don't like being sat on, or use a block. As you exhale, we're going to curl the fingers into a little paw, stretching the back of the wrists. Inhale, extend, opening the fingertips. Exhale and curl. Inhale, extend. Exhale and curl. Let's do that one more time. And maybe hold, shoulders relaxed. And then you can release and just roll the wrists out a little bit. Maybe a little shake or a flick. And then let's come to our bellies. And if you're not comfortable on your belly today, We're just going to do a little bit of work on the back. So you can be sitting on your heels, or you can even just be standing up here and just working with that little bit of, the same kind of action with your body, but just upright instead of on your belly, okay? And if you're comfortable coming to your belly, just come on down. Take your hands into a little bit of a cactus shape, would be the same in seated. Press the tops of the feet down, pubic bone down. Inhale, lift into a little bit of a cobra. Exhale to lower. You can bring your hands in a little bit closer if you want to come up a little bit higher. And release. Just taking a few of those. And then you can take one more and hold, or bring your elbows right underneath your shoulders and take a sphinx pose. So you're supported up on your elbows. And then think of trying to pull the floor towards you with your elbows, heart forward, legs nice and heavy into the sand. Sort of long belly. And then gently release. You can widen your elbows and come right down to your belly. If you're seated, just taking a rest. And then let's travel gently back to a child's pose. So knees as wide as you like, hips back to your heels. And you could explore having the knees right together to lengthen the lower back a little bit more. So just kind of see what works for you. You can have your hands forward, resting beside your hips, or you could bend your elbows and bring the thumbs to the upper back. You're welcome to stay here, or we'll take a little side stretch in child's pose. So you can walk your hands over to the right. Up on fingertips is nice, or you could plant the palm, take the right hand onto the palm. I'm just resting my forehead on my right hand. I'm kind of leaning the left hip back. And then when you're ready, we'll go to the other side, reaching the hands over to the left. I'm just taking the variation that works for you. We've got the right hip kind of pulling back a little bit so we get that lovely side stretch again. And then when you're ready, let's gently come back through center and we can return to our downward facing dog. So you can bring your hands a little bit farther forward than your shoulders, tuck your toes, lift your hips, a little bend to the elbows. And in your own time, walk your feet to your hands, coming into a standing forward bend near the top of your mat. Feet could be hips distance or wider. You can rest your elbows on your bent knees. You can hang down, holding opposite elbows. Just any variation that works for you is perfect. Feel free to add movement or just be still. The idea, as usual, is to feel good, not to look a certain way or achieve a certain thing. It's just to be paying attention to what our bodies are saying yes to and practicing leaning into that yes when we can. And then when you're ready, we can roll up. So bending into the knees, gathering in the belly, pelvic floor, lean back into the heels and slowly roll yourself up If that doesn't feel safe for whatever reason, feel free to come up with a flat spine. I'm just taking a moment at the top to receive, to feel. Okay, so let's move some energy through our bodies through half sun salutations, which I know many of you guys are familiar with. So feel free to just kind of go at your own pace. So as you inhale, we're going to sweep the arms up to the sky. And on the exhale, soften the knees and hinge forward from the hips to fold. Take a halfway lift. You can press your fingertips into your shins or the floor. And then exhale and fold over your legs. Bend your knees, look forward, rising all the way up. And on the exhale, hands come together at the heart. That's it. We'll do a few more. Inhale to rise up. Exhale, dive. Lengthen halfway. Gently fold. Bend the knees, rising up. Hands to heart. So you're welcome to close your eyes and just kind of go at your own pace. And with something like this as well, you can always sort of add or shift or change it however it works best for you today. Going a little faster or a little slower today, kind of luxuriating in the parts of the sequence that feel right for you. So again, just returning to that principle of what is it like to feel good in your body today? How can we lean into that? Just moving through about one more. Eventually, in your own time, returning to standing. And just taking a moment to receive that. Beautiful. Okay, so let's come to stand near the top of the mat if you're not there already. And you might want to have some blocks handy if you have them. You don't necessarily need them, but they can be quite nice. And you might want something to pad your knee as well. We're going to work with some low lunges, and I'll give you some options if low lunge doesn't work for you. So we'll reach the arms up to the sky again. On the exhale, diving down. Halfway lift, and then step your right foot back and lower your knee down. So feel free to put it on a rolled blanket, or you could even just double fold your mat. Sometimes that's nice. And come up into a nice, simple low lunge. Squaring the hips forward, drawing the tailbone down and pressing the hips forward a bit. So you could do high lunge here if that works better for you. Okay, and then from here, you can interlace your fingers and press the palms up to the sky. If that doesn't work for your shoulders, just keep the arms straight, that's fine. And if you're okay here, try a little side stretch to the left. Keep working the tailbone down. Come up through center and then gently release your hands. You can bring them down to the blocks and straighten your front leg. So your back heel is going to stay just right over top of your knee there. You can have a bit of a bend in the front knee as well. And then inhale to lengthen and exhale to fold. And you can stay in either of those places or you can flow. Inhaling to lengthen and exhaling to dip. So some days I like a bit more movement, some days I'm in a bit more of a still place. Sometimes that changes breath to breath. So just be where it feels right for you. Wherever you are, drawing the left hip a little bit back and thinking of a long heart forward. We're not trying to, you know, touch our heads to anything or anything like that. Beautiful. Okay, and then look forward, bend into your front leg and just heel toe it open to the left a little bit. So it's kind of near the long edge of your mat, and you can turn the toes off to the left a little bit on a bit of an angle. And then just gently work the hips forward. So I'm untucking my back toes, but I want to keep pressing into the top of the foot so that the kneecap stays kind of active. And I just want to make sure my knee doesn't go way past my ankle. So I might need to lengthen my stance a little bit to work with that. So hip opener here for sure. I could come down a little lower on my blocks. I could even bring my elbows down. Just exploring where the hip opening wants to be for me today. And I like to kind of lift up my left toes to make sure that that knee is staying nice and active too. Another place to explore is winging the knee open. So the inner arch of the foot comes off the ground and the knee begins to turn open to the left. So feel free to explore that. Any pain in the knee, just go back. Okay, this is a hip opener. It shouldn't feel like anything in the knee. And just breathe deeply here. So I often like to use Ujjayi because that's kind of my training and my habit, but it doesn't have to be Ujjayi. Just conscious deep breaths to keep you kind of conscious to where you are and what you're feeling. Beautiful. And then when you feel ready, you can bring your hands back up if they're down, bring your knee back into the midline, gently walk the foot into the midline, and then we'll just carefully, gently step forward to the top of the mat. Take a halfway lift, exhale to fold, and we'll just stay here for a couple breaths. So stillness is great. You might want to bend one knee at a time or sway side to side, just kind of easing that out of the hips and hamstrings. Nice. And then we'll take a halfway lift and step the left foot back. We'll do the same thing on the left side. So bringing the knee down onto a prop as appropriate. Hips squaring forward, drawing the tailbone down. Reaching the arms up, and then you could try interlacing the fingers and pressing them up and just see if your shoulders are comfortable with that. And then exploring that little bit of a side stretch to the right. Keep the tailbone drawing down and the hips pressing forward. That might be my favorite. I love this lunge with the side bend. I find it just feels so, so good in the hip flexor and side body and shoulder. Okay, up through center as you're ready. Bring the hands down to the blocks or the floor, whatever you've got, your Tupperwares or your books. You can straighten out your front leg, a little bit of a bend in the knee. You might want to untuck your back toes at this point. Okay, and then again, just notice what it feels like to lift your heart forward and kind of stick the bum out. That's one option. You could fold down, that's another option. And a third option is to flow between them. So feel free to experiment for yourself with movement and stillness. I find usually my body wants to move. Occasionally I have a day where stillness is really where the richness is for me. And there's no right or wrong. It's not better or worse. It's just what feels right for you. And generally when we lean into that intuition, the intuition of the body, it will do what helps to soothe our nervous systems and bring us back into balance. So it's sort of part of the practice is trusting that you have that wisdom that you need. Part of the practice is trusting that. Awesome. Okay, and then we'll lift the chest. Bend into the front leg and just walk it open so it's near the long edge of the mat and the toes turn out a little bit. And then the hips are coming forward. And again, I'm untucking my back toes, but pressing the top of the foot into the earth here. Yeah, that's an excellent modification, Cindy. Yeah, so if, I'll just share that in case anyone needs it. If you're in a place where this feels a little too intense for your hips, it's not working for you, you can lay on your back and do the same shape, holding your knee in and open to the side. It's the same hip opening, it's just different gravity. Okay, so you're welcome to stay here. You can come down onto your elbows if you like, and maybe you're exploring that little bit of an opening of the knee to the side, so the inner arch of the foot is coming up. I'm just noticing, wow, does this ever feel different in my two hips today? So of course we want to be balanced in the two sides, but realistically we're not. So it's not something we need to judge, just something we need to notice. And we just offer compassion and tenderness to whatever it is that's happening in the body. Yeah, last couple breaths. And then when you feel ready, you can come back up to your hands. Gently bring the knee back into the midline, walking the foot in. Tuck those back toes under and carefully step forward to the top of the mat. Lengthen up halfway. Exhale, melt, and just take a moment again to be in stillness or a bit of movement, swaying or bending one knee at a time. And then you can come up to fingertips or blocks. And if you have blocks, you could even take them nice and high onto their highest edge. Bend your knees a little bit more. And then straighten your left leg as you reach the left arm open to the sky. So it's a little bit of a twist. And you could do this with your hands on the floor. You might feel your hip a bit more. And then on an exhale, just coming down through center, both knees bend, and then other side. Right leg straightens and the right arm rise. And then gently back through center. Take a halfway lift and fold. And then let's roll up or sweep up, however you want to get to standing. And just take a moment to feel. Nice. Okay, let's make our way back down to the ground, and we'll do this through squat pose. So you can take your feet about mat's distance apart and turn the toes open a little bit. Bend the knees, and you can sink down halfway with your elbows on your thighs, or you can bring your hips right down, elbows in between the thighs. You could sit on a block, you could sit right down on the ground. For some of us, it's the ankles that get in the way and we need a little wedge underneath the heels. That could be a couple blocks or an extra yoga mat or something. Pull the shoulders down the back, take a nice deep breath. Beautiful. Okay, let's make our way down onto our buns, if you're not there already, and you can wash your knees from side to side. I have some big plans for our last little bit, so let's see how it goes. You can come down to laying on your back. Okay, feel free to come down onto your side first if you're pregnant and you just need a little bit more support coming down. Okay. And let's take a moment to just activate through the abdominal cavity. So inhale, and as you exhale, gather your pelvic floor in and up and scoop your belly button towards your spine. Keep your spine nice and neutral, so you've still got a little bit of space underneath there. You can stay here or interlace your fingers around behind the back of your head and lift your shoulder blades lightly up off the ground. And we'll just start with our lovely marching. So as you inhale, lifting your right leg, and as you exhale, put it down. And then inhale and lift your left, and gently put that down. So just keeping everything nice and steady. One way of thinking about this is trying to do this action without any wobbling in the pelvis. So keeping everything really nice and still. And if this is feeling okay and you feel like you might want a little bit more work, you can float your toes up and instead on the exhale, just tap your foot down. That's just going to be a little bit more weight for your core to work with. But see where you get that genuine sense of activation into the deep core. It doesn't have to be complex or big to be powerful. So we're just doing one set of these. So we're just going to take a few more if you can. Last one each side. And then rest. You can take the soles of the feet together, knees open wide, or knees together, feet wide. Relax your head and shoulders. Take a couple breaths into your belly. Awesome. Okay, when you're ready, roll over to one side. I'm coming to my left side. And you're gonna have your bottom knee just a little bit bent so that it points kind of not straight in front of you, but a little bit down. And I'm supporting my head in my hand. You could also rest your head on your arm or a pillow. And we want to have a little natural curve in the lower back here and just very mild, gentle engagement through the core. The top leg is going to go straight, and I've got my top hand just supporting me with a little bit of extra help here. Toes are pointed, and we're going to circle. So we're also just doing one round of these. So we're doing the one that, for me, packs a pretty good punch. Okay, so some nice circles, a little bigger than a dinner plate. You just want to think about the leg going, above, below, in front and behind, that midpoint. Below, you're not going to go too far. Just feeling all those different outer hip muscles working. Let's reverse the direction of the circle. Try to keep your hips nice and steady. So that's where some of the deeper core work comes in. So we're not kind of wobbling around in the spine or the pelvis. It's just the leg moving in its socket. Last one. Whew, nice work. You can relax the knees together, and you might want to take your soft fist and just gently pad out that outer hip region. I promise we'll stretch this out. Okay. We're going to come right to the second side and do that same thing. So you can roll over, and I'm going to flip over so I'm still facing you. Same thing. So the bottom knee is, bent at a bit of an angle down, supporting your head in your hand or on a pillow. Gentle engagement through the core, natural curve in the lower back. Top leg goes straight, toes point, and the top hand can go in front of you. And then just some nice steady circles. It doesn't really matter that much how big they are. Still breathing and just using those core muscles to keep everything nice and steady. Good, and then reverse the circle. I'm aiming for about 10 here, but you kind of want to work to that place where you're just kind of at that edge where you can feel the muscles starting to get fatigued. Maybe a little bit past that point if you're working on gaining strength. But we're not trying to get stressed. And that's about 10. I'm really bad at counting and talking at the same time. So that's my intuitive count, about 10. Gently patting out the outer hip. And that's our hard work for today, I think, pretty much. Now we get to do some lovely openings, hip openings, okay? So you're gonna roll onto your back. And we're gonna take thread the needle. So keep in mind, if thread the needle doesn't work for you, there's lots of hip openers that can work. So feel free to find the one that does work for you. Namely, if you don't want to lay down on your back for a long time, you can do essentially thread the needle in a seat. Okay. If you are okay here on your back, take your right ankle across your left thigh. Maybe you're staying here or holding on to the back of the left thigh with your hands, or you could use a strap for this as well if you're kind of reaching for the legs and it's a bit challenging. I've also found that having a low prop to wedge underneath the bum can make this so much more comfortable for some people. But the idea is that you're getting a nice stretch in your outer hip, and you shouldn't really feel that your lower back is being strained in any way. You shouldn't feel like this is a big effort, okay? So if it feels like a big effort, try using a strap around your thigh or propping something underneath your bum or lower back. Keep your right foot flexed, okay, which will help protect your knee, and optionally rock from side to side. And for me, I find just when I rock side to side, I just feel different muscles getting a bit of a stretch. Lovely. And when that feels complete for you, you can release your legs. I usually like to send them up to the sky and shake them. You could also do a windshield wiper with your feet on the ground. And then when you're ready, we'll switch sides. So taking the left ankle to the right thigh, maybe staying here, maybe holding onto the back of the thigh with your strap or your hands, maybe wedging something underneath your bum if you feel like your back is really rounded and you're kind of really reaching for your leg. I also would like your head to be relaxed so you're not kind of craning your neck up to look at your legs. And again, if you do find that your head is up off the ground, you might need that little prop under your bum. Left foot flexed, maybe a little rock here, maybe not, see how it feels. Maybe you're just exploring a little bit from side to side to find where your hot spot is and then hanging out there. Shouldn't be painful, of course, but one of the things that we're exploring is like, where is that comfortable discomfort? Where is that place where I feel like something's happening, but I'm not tensing up against it? I'm not feeling stressed. It's not, creating anxiety in me. Let's take another deep breath here. And then when this side feels complete for you, you can release your legs and again, give them a little shake. Beautiful. And then we'll end with our banana or close to end with our banana, which is actually a nice hip opener as well as a side bend. So keep your bum where it is, extend your legs, and then walk your feet over to the right. You could try hooking your left ankle over your right, that's your left heel over your right ankle. Keep your bum down. Upper body can walk over to the right as well. So you're in the shape of a banana, like your body is a crescent moon or a curve shape, but your hip points are still pointing up to the sky. That being said, if you do have any pain in your lower back doing this, sometimes it does help to put a little prop underneath the left bum just to support that. Okay, this shouldn't hurt your lower back. It should just feel like a nice stretch along the side body. And you might feel your outer hip stretching a little bit there too, which I certainly do on this side today. And this one's a bit more passive. Classically, this is a yin pose that we could hold for minutes. We're not going to be here for too long, but just softening into it. And if you want to give it a little bit more juice, just the place where you would be a bit more active is kind of flexing the left foot and just gently, ever so gently straightening that left leg. So you'll probably feel a bit more of a stretch. If you do that, that's optional. A few more breaths if you can. If it's becoming stressful, please come out early. And when you're ready, you can just gently unhook the legs, kind of lazily bring yourself back through center. You might want to pause in a little mini Shavasana. You could hug your knees into your chest if you'd like. I'm going to keep my body long. I'm going to hug in after I do the second side. So I'm just kind of noticing what this feels like here. Again, trust your intuition. Your body often knows what it needs. Okay, when you're ready, again, bum stays down. We'll walk the legs over to the left, second side, taking your right heel over your left ankle. Upper body walks over to the left as well, but the bum stays down. So we're not laying on our sides, we're laying on our backs, but we're side bending. So we come into this curved shape like a banana. I'm holding opposite elbows. You could hold your right wrist with your left hand. You could have your arms open. It doesn't matter too much, just what feels right for you, where there should be, again, no pain or pinching in your shoulders. And just nice deep breaths into your right side here, maybe experimenting with gently straightening your right leg to get that a little bit of a juicier stretch into the outer hip. And this might be a nice hip opening if your hip doesn't want to externally rotate. Let's take one more deep breath here. And then we'll gently unhook and come back through center. And then draw your knees in. You can rock side to side or take a happy baby. And with my big plans, it's just, we're just at time right now. So we'll take Shavasana for a couple of minutes if you have them. If you have to run, of course, I understand. Okay, and if you have anything you need to add before you can rest in a Shavasana, feel free to do that. Otherwise, you can just gently kind of flop open. Maybe there's a way that you want to set up your Shavasana, like with a bolster under your thighs or laying on your side, or just whatever works for you is great. We'll just take a couple minutes to rest and receive the work that we've done today. You're more than welcome to stay in your Shavasana as long as you want to and have the time for today. If you feel that your time here is complete, you can gently begin to deepen your breath and bring some gentle movement into your body. Eventually, you can curl your knees in and roll over to one side. And then softly press up to a seat and place your hands wherever feels right for you, over your heart or together, over your belly, whatever feels right. Gently bow your mind to your hands, honoring and acknowledging whatever it took for you to get here to your practice today. Whatever that practice might have looked like, felt like. Honoring and acknowledging the long and complex lineage of teachers that is with us in our practice. And honoring the sacredness of the land that we practice on. Thank you for sharing that with me today.